So I am making this video today in honor of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Before we begin, just a pre-warning, trigger warning for sexual assault, rape, molestation, anything like that. If that bothers you, don't watch it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. No big deal. Happens to the best of us. Um, so I'm making this video today to, I guess, share my story a bit. I've always wanted to. I don't know why. As a younger me, I always would watch, like survivor stories and stuff like that, and it was really inspiring to me. So I want to give that back to whoever feels like watching this. So, where to begin? Uh, I guess my story starts when I was around 6. My uncle was babysitting my brother and I. He'd done this, I don't think, any time before. But he was babysitting us and we were playing, whatever. And next thing I know, he asked me to, like, go under this blanket and whatever and proceeded to molest me. Um, a couple, in my, 6-year-old mind, I thought it was years later, but I've been told that it was, just a couple of days or something like that. I told my mom, and, she did the, like, oh, where did he touch you kind of stuff like that. And they proceeded to confront him and my grandma and grandpa about it. And there was, like, a decision that was made because it was my dad's brother, that nothing would be done, like, legally because um, there was an agreement that he would seek counseling and, stuff like that. So, as I grew up, never was really talked about ever again. It was kind of like the hush hush family secret kind of thing. And then, one day, completely out of the blue, my parents bring me into their bedroom and they're like, hey, your uncle, he doesn't really have a place to stay right now. Is it okay if he comes and lives with us in the basement? And I was like, kind of shocked. And I was like, at first I was like, why would I have a problem with that? And then I was like, oh, right, wait, that happened. So I was like, sure, whatever. I thought I was fine with it. Thought I had dealt with it. I had gone to counseling and stuff, and whatever. So he starts living with us, whatever, and everything was fine. And then he started dating this girl, and I really liked her, and whatever. She was really cool. And I was like, wait, does she know? Like, does she know what happened? Does she know that this is, like, a thing? And eventually, like, this, like, anger kind of manifested in me, and one day I kind of blew out and I started pounding on his chest or whatever. But then later, like, after that, like, calmed down or whatever, I ended up messaging his girlfriend because they were getting, like, super, super serious. And I was like, oh, like, does she know? Because, like I said, it was, like, a family secret. No one talked about it, nothing. Which obviously isn't the greatest way to deal with anything. But at any rate, I messaged her and she's like, no, I didn't know. And I was like, well, shit, I don't want to, like, break them up or anything because at the time I was fine with him. He was cool, chill, whatever. And so was she. I really liked her. And then we had, like, this family meeting where my my other uncle came who lived with us at the time too, and his girlfriend. And they all, like, my parents had a smoking porch because my mom smoked or whatever, so they were in there talking, and they all smoked too besides my dad and my uncle's girlfriend. And they all, like, talked and discussed this huge thing and whatever about how I told his girlfriend and whatever. And, like, I was just chilling, playing video games with my brother, like, no big deal. And eventually I was called into the porch. And mind you, I've never, ever had talked to him about this before, like, one-on-one, or really any time at all before that with my parents or anything, besides when I first told them. And, they It was just me and my other uncle in there. My parents had left, girlfriend had left, whatever. And he admits it to me that he abused me when I was a kid. And then he like tried to justify it with the fact that he was also abused and his abuser had been abused by someone else, and apparently it was like this chain event or whatever you want to call it. And that was kind of weird because it was like he was justifying it or whatever. And he apologized, whatever, as apparently one does. I don't know. And his girlfriend later told me, like, if you need any counseling, anything, just like let me know and we'll figure it out. Well, shortly after this, at this time I was in like seventh grade. In ninth grade, um, my parents every year for their anniversary would go down to St. Cloud and spend the weekend there. And usually my grandma or babysitter or someone would come and stay with us at that time, usually at our house. Well, this time my grandma decided, hey, why don't the kids like come and stay at my place for the weekend? Fine, whatever. Um, the whole weekend was kind of weird, I guess. My brother was getting all these gifts or whatever, and I was getting nothing, you know, which was weird, and not saying, and it wasn't like a jealousy thing. It just like legitimately, I like got nothing. It was weird, but came to the last night, and sorry to talk about. It's probably yeah. Um, and my dad was like, hey, I know you and my mom's relationship isn't the greatest or whatever, but maybe you guys should talk about these things and whatnot. And so we both were like, okay, fine, whatever. Let's chat. So we both went into a room and started talking about things. And I don't remember the night very well, but what was really distinctive of it is she wanted to know very much in detail, like, I mean, the most detailed detail that you could possibly tell someone about what happened to me and my uncle. And that isn't something that you should ever ask anyone. Um, and, I think back to it now, like, well, why didn't I, like, not tell her, whatever, but she was, like, insistent on needing to know. And me being young, I was like, okay, I guess, or whatever. And I don't know, something kind of like snapped in me or something. I don't know, like that makes it sound weird. But after that, I started crying or whatever. She probably said something to me. I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember it very well. But I was obviously very traumatized. The technical term is re-traumatization, and that's basically what happened. And she saw me freaking out and crying and dazed, and she just got up, left the room, and continued with her nightly routine and went to bed as I was sobbing and freaking out. So that was fun, and I mean that in the most sarcastic way possible. Um, Eventually, I mustered up the will to leave the room, um, and my parents talked to me for quite a while on the phone, and I told them to not come get me because I didn't want to ruin their anniversary or whatever. Ended up going home anyways because, yeah. Excuse me. But basically, what happened was because of that, um, my mind went back to when I was like a 6 year old and I couldn't talk very well. Um, it took me probably 3-4 minutes to say maybe one sentence because I was stuttering so bad, and or I just couldn't talk. But eventually I was able to fall asleep. Um, next morning, my parents came and got me and my brother and whatnot, and um, ever since I haven't really talked to her. And then also none of my dad's side of the family, and that is because after that, basically, we ran around and told the whole family that, or like what happened with my grandma, but also with my uncle. And there was a varying degree of denial and more brushing it under the rug, basically. And I got answers range from, well, it's not my kid, so I don't care, to eventually at one point, um, I wish she was dead, meaning me. I wish she had killed herself, whatever, because I've been dealing with depression forever. But that was kind of a huge turning point in my life because ever since then, unfortunately, I have had PTSD from stuff that my uncle has done and now my grandma. Um, so that was a whole huge thing to have to learn how to deal with, um, on top of depression and anxiety already. Um, so then, with this new PTSD, you have these things called flashbacks. And I would have varying flashbacks from the first time my uncle molested me to like my grandma, and then I would also start to have flashbacks of something when I was like around in seventh grade, and then I came to the realization that while my uncle was living with us, he assaulted me then, and so that was a good, fun thing to have to deal with. But yeah, yeah, still kind of a foggy kind of memory kind of deal because it's not something that I like know concrete necessarily. I mean, like I know, like totally know. Wouldn't be saying it if I didn't. But it's harder because it's a flashback and they're kind of, it's just a picture that you see for like a second, and I mean you can rethink of them obviously, but it's not like a memory where like you can think of like a specific instance and like what you were doing and whatever. They're kind of like varied in what they are, and sometimes they're not an image, sometimes they're a feeling, sometimes they're, stuff like that, a smell or whatever. So yeah, but I wanted to make this video not only to share my story and hopefully um, I don't want to say inspire people because it's a sad story, but to have people relate to my story, because for me at least personally, I think relating to someone on a level like this is very nice, and like you're like, oh yeah, someone else has like been through this shit, and it knows it and understands it, to a degree. Of course, no one's gone through the exact same thing that you have been, but it's still nice to know that there's other people out there, but also other people out there that have survived and that are living. Like currently, I'm in college. Like I'm gonna graduate in 2 years, roughly, a year and a half maybe. We'll see. And I'm doing really good for myself. Beside like, despite what has happened in my past, I'm living. I'm here. Don't get me wrong. There's been a lot of rough spots. There has, but I've come out the other side a bit scarred, but I've come out the other side. And if there's anything that I would take away from my experiences, and something that I like to remind myself of is, um, you're only given the battles in life that whatever higher being that you believe in or don't, that you can actually get through. And that's something that I've like held on to and found is very important because I think that even though the things that I've been through are really traumatic and really crappy, um, I've been molded and become a better person because of it. So I think that's important to keep in mind. And, you know, obviously, kind of, you would always wish that it wouldn't have happened. But at the same, in the similar vein, I'm proud of the person that I am today. I really am. Of course, I'm no perfect person. No one is. But yeah, I, I'm proud of myself and who I am. So hopefully you can be proud of yourself too. To whoever's watching this, and if you've gone through anything similar, um, you know, I'm proud of you too because it's a hard thing to get through, no matter who you are. And if you haven't told anyone yet, that's okay. Um, Take your time. Tell someone when you're ready. Um, it's your decision, what you want to do with that and do with that information. And, if anyone else wants to share their story with me, I'm more than welcome and happy to listen. So, have a good night, or day, or evening, whatever time it is.